Hello and welcome to week 2 of English 1301. This week we are focusing on turning in our very first essay, which is, of course, the autobiographical narrative. So, in the last week's lecture, we went over exactly what the assignment entailed. We're going to take one more good look at it just to make sure we understand the instructions. You are writing a autobiographical narrative, a story about yourself in no fewer than 750 words, meaning it has to be at least 750 words. Now, the word count seems like a lot, it can be daunting. Just write your story and see what you're at when you're done writing. And then you can go back and see where you could add some detail, and that usually helps if you are at less than 750. I find that most students tend to write anywhere between 800 and 1,000 words just naturally when they're doing this assignment. So don't worry too much about the word count. It's important, and I do want it actually at the end of your paper because I want you to be cognizant of how many words you wrote and what that looks like. But the real focus here is on the story. Make sure that you're using effective strategies such as tone and dialogue. For example, you don't want to write a super happy story in a negative or despairing way. And by the same token, you probably don't want to write a story that is serious in a light-hearted way. That's quite the opposite of what social norms would be. And while you could possibly be successful, particularly if you were being satirical, it's a little more difficult. One other tip I have, a good one, is make sure that you are using past tense and not past perfect tense or anything like that. Just simple past tense is the best tense to use for telling a story, obviously something that happened in the past. When we try to use the past perfect tense where it's I wake, I go to the door, I put my shoes on, that sort of thing. Instead of saying I went to the door, I put my shoes on, or I put before I put my socks on. When we try to use a tense other than the normal past tense, uh, it's difficult. And I'm not saying that y'all couldn't do it. What I am saying is it's difficult for usually for students who are taking my class who have no prior creative writing experience to do that. Now, if you were a great creative writer in high school or are, um, maybe it's possible if you wanted to attempt it. But I caution you, uh, if it doesn't work, it will be corrections would be expected when we do the revisions to this. So just keep that in mind. It's a simple story. It's really just practicing writing about yourself. If you have people in your story, and we often do, often our stories do not just include us, they include others around us. Make sure that you've got the dialogue down. There was a part on the blackboard about how to write dialogue. Excuse me. Take a look in here about how to write narrative dialogue. There's actually a couple different ones. There's a website and a good actual document here. Make sure that you uh, indent or start a new paragraph every time the speaker changes. So every time when you're having a dialogue between two people, you would indent the first part of the conversation and then you would continue to indent every time the speaker changes so that the reader has a visual clue about what's going on with the conversation. That's literally just a visual clue, um, and it's just easier to follow. And it is good English um, practice. It's what we've been doing for years and years and years, and we've continued to do it. It's what works in novels. It you probably do it and don't even realize that it's an actual visual clue that is used over and over again to designate when speakers change in all the things that you read. So be sure that you are doing it as well. Let's see. Oh, also, if you have a character in your story that has a particular accent or speaks in a certain way, it's perfectly acceptable for you to depict that character using that particular dialogue. For example, if you have a character like my younger brother used to not be able to say the word spaghetti, and he would say pusketty. And so if I were writing a story about my time during my with my younger brother, and the word spaghetti came up, I would definitely depict him saying pusketty so that it would add to the reader's understanding of what that character was like. And you could probably picture a 3-year old saying, pusketty instead of spaghetti or getting that wrong. And that would just add interest to your story and also to your character and just make it a little more real. So keep that in mind. If you have characters that can't pronounce words, if they speak in a certain dialect, such as Cajun, or if they have a very thick Spanish accent, for example, you can try writing that into your dialogue. This, writing it how it sounds instead of how it's properly spelled, and that would never be a ding. Uh, that would just be you being a little bit creative. This is probably going to be the most creative paper that we write in terms of writing. Um, you will, if you're interested in taking English more or going into an English career, you will at some point take a creative writing course where they absolutely go over this in greater detail about how to write characters and whatnot. Um, as this is just an introductory course, we don't really focus on it, but for an autobiographical narrative like this, it's perfectly acceptable. So be sure to do that if you're interested. Again, trying to think of anything else that would be helpful. You're writing a story that has a point to it, and you're going to give your reader what the point was to the story at the very end. So keep that in mind. You can you can talk about it at the beginning just to kind of give a preview. Um, but it's just best to really focus on making sure it's at the end so that the reader really truly understands why you felt like you wanted to share that particular story. I wanted to say them on the word of on the topics. I much prefer a happy topic if you can manage it. Of course, it's difficult to read 25 papers about death or terrible things that have happened to people over and over again. However, I'm not requiring that it be a happy topic. I do just want it to be something that actually happened to you, something that you actually uh, overcame or dealt with. And I just think that happy things, positive things are easier to write about. But I do understand if you are not comfortable or you'd rather write about something that wasn't as happy. Uh, I get it. And I do want to make sure that you know that your stories remain with me. We don't share them out. No one else will see it. I'm not encouraging you to give me dark, deep details. And please try not to choose anything that might be actionable if it's hasn't been resolved already. So, because I do have an obligation to report abuse and that sort of thing. So, if you had a situation happen and it was resolved, please make sure that you let me know in the story or outside of it that the situation was resolved and that everything is okay. And I understand using writing like this as a catharsis. I get it. But please just let me know. Other than that, let me know if you have any questions about the narrative. It's pretty straightforward. Make sure you use the word count. Make sure you're using the correct MLA format. That's one more thing we could quickly kind of go over. I have several different places where you can see about setting up your paper in MLA. These different videos in this folder actually talk about the different ways to do it. They may be a little dated, but much of the information is still good. So this was the iPad version of Word. This is Word Online. This is Word for PCs. Different videos made there. And then also in writing resources, all the way up here, we have an entire folder just for MLA information. These are different videos. Actually, this one is the basics MLA includes, your 8.5 by 11 paper. All of the margins all the way around are sent to 1 inch. Everything is double spaced, including the heading. And you're going to use Times New Roman font and 12 point font. Um, and the reason for that is I like reading in Times New Roman font. I read better in it, and it's one of the approved fonts for MLA. So it is my request as your professor to please use Times New Roman. Otherwise, I will point it out and probably take points off. The heading, not in the page header, but the heading on top is your name, my name, the class name, and the date. And what goes in the page header is your last name, the page number in the top right, and there's a way to start that on the first page, which I can go through here in just a second. You're going to center your title. A note on titles. Your paper must have a title, and it cannot be, I repeat, it cannot be essay number one, autobiographical narrative, or essay number one, or narrative, or anything like that. Your title needs to be something that relates to your story. It doesn't have to be clever. It can. It's great if it's clever, but it doesn't have to be. But it has to be something that relates to your story. Even if it's my story, it needs to be something other than autobiographical narrative or essay number one. So if someone does this, I'm going to know they didn't listen to this lecture, and I will take points off and ask you to change it for the revisions. So make sure that you have a good title. Make sure it's centered. It is not bolded. It is not made bigger. It is not more important than the rest of the words on that page. It is the same Times New Roman 12-point font. You need to make sure that you capitalize important words if you have more than one or two words in the title. The bigger words are always capitalized. When in doubt, capitalize everything, and it's not going to be a bad thing. But you do need to have a title. The basic rules, write in clear sentences, put your ideas in your own words. Use the present tense the past tense when writing about stories. I need to change that. Skip one space after periods, and you should be fine. So when you use someone else's words, you're going to use simple citations. That's actually for our next papers. So be sure to follow those guidelines, and I will fix that later. Uh, Here's another one about setting up your paper in MLA. It's those same videos. MLA page formatting is another video. I believe this is from, yes, the University of Louisville Writing Center. So if you didn't like the other videos that we have, you can watch those ones. There's page formatting. In-text citations will work for the next paper, also the works cited for the next paper. And let me see, I will probably put in here a guide that you can use that you can actually download and use as a template, I should say, for your papers. I'll put this in here under here, and I'll probably also put it up with the story so that you can just type your information in without having to worry too much about the formatting. But it's important that you understand how the formatting works. In any case, I think that is just about everything I have for the paper. The paper is due on Saturday. I will open up the next module on the Thursday before, in case we have people who finish the essay early and would like to get a head start on the next module. However, the lecture for the next module will not go up until Sunday. So while you're able to go take a look at it, the lecture actually telling you what to do will go up on Sunday, but the module will be open a little bit early if you want to get a head start on any readings and things such as that. As always, if you have any questions, be sure to let me know. Give me an email, and I will get back to you as soon as I possibly can. Have a great week, and have a good time writing your stories. I look forward to reading them.